Hey, Chris from Keyfarm. If you're not familiar with my channel, it's a farm. I build stuff. Some of it's farm stuff, some of it's stuff with animals. I'm over here feeding right now. I normally always have one creature or another bothering me when I'm doing a video. But hey, check it out. I mean, we got some cool videos. But that's not what this one's about. So, I was recently diagnosed with COVID-19, and I didn't do the video because I wanted to wait and see if my family had it so I could do some updates so there weren't so many questions. So let me start back at the beginning. Today is Tuesday. Let's see, yesterday was Dad's birthday, the 27th, so today is April the 28th. Well, we have to rewind all the way back to, I believe it was April the 5th was a Sunday. And my Saturday before that was just kind of blah. I didn't really feel bad, I just didn't really feel very energetic, but you know, a Saturday sometimes may be that way anyway. So, Sunday, I got really bad body aches. I mean, I hurt all over. This shoulder blade felt like it was going to come through the skin. Just horrible, horrible body aches. Well, I don't live under a rock. I know this, you know, sickness is out here. So, the first thing I do is check my temperature. Hey! Hit the road! Go! Sorry. So, first thing I do is take my temperature. I take my temperature in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening. No elevated temperature whatsoever. So, Monday rolls around. Monday I was getting ready for work and my body was aching so bad, but look, I don't miss work unless it's absolutely necessary. Took my temperature before I went to work, absolutely normal. I go to work and I remember this vividly. I was hurting so bad I didn't even tie my shoes. And I get to work and I sit down on a bench out front where we kind of congregate, and I was tying my shoes and I was like, man, I am feeling rough today. I said, but I don't have no fever. I said, that's what everybody's going by, right? No fever. And some of the guys sitting there with me said, yeah, you know, if you don't have a fever, you come on to work. So I worked out my day. Now look, some of you are going to really penalize me for continuing to go to work even though I was sick. Well, when it comes to small sicknesses, I mean, if I felt bad at 40 years old, if I stayed home every time I felt bad, I'd probably miss 30 days a year. I mean, you got to use some common sense, and I was really waiting to have a fever, okay? Never had a fever. Well, sometimes within this 3 or so days I had body aches, I lost my sense of smell. Tuesday, I get up, don't have a sense of smell. You know, it takes you a little bit of time to notice you've lost your sense of smell, especially when I noticed it was I'd pump the hand sanitizer and it would normally fill my whole truck and I couldn't smell it. I just thought, well, that's odd. So no sense of smell, lost it sometime in this 3 or 4 days of body aches. Get up Tuesday, body aches, work all day again. Wednesday, the body aches about midday just go away. So I thought, well, fine, I pretty much get back to normal. So, the rest of my week rocks on, and still don't have a sense of smell, and very little sense of taste. The two kind of go hand in hand, but I could taste a little and I could smell zero. And keep in mind, you couldn't be tested at this time unless you had a fever or more severe symptoms than I had. I know I'm trying to cover myself a little bit, but I couldn't even be checked without a fever. So the whole next week rocks on, and I still didn't have a sense of smell. And we haven't been working Mondays. We've went to 4 days a week where I work. So over the weekend, somebody sends me a message that knew I didn't have a sense of smell, and they said, hey, they're testing for COVID-19 up here at this clinic. I said, oh yeah. And I never made it up there over the weekend. So Tuesday, I got done with my job about 1 o'clock. And earlier that morning, I had sent this clinic a Facebook message saying, hey, will you test somebody that hasn't had a fever, that hasn't had severe symptoms? And they simply sent back yes. So as soon as I got off work, I drove to the neighboring city and I went to the clinic and I was tested. And the test was the worst 5 seconds of my week. I gritted my teeth and I got through it, but it was the worst 5 seconds of my week. It was not pleasant. Wow. So, and keep in mind, I told the lady that took my swab, I said, look, I don't even know if I need to be here. I said, you know, I'm only here because I don't have a sense of smell. You know, and I certainly don't want to take up a test that somebody might need. She said, well, when it comes to no fever tests, we just started testing that in these last couple days. So, you know, she said they had plenty of tests on hand. I said, okay, let's do it. So, I leave out of there, you know, tested on Tuesday, and there may have been a miscommunication somewhere. They asked me if I needed a excuse for work, and I said no. I just thought maybe they thought that I had left work and had to go back to work and needed an excuse for when I was gone. Well, as it turns out, while you're waiting on a test, you're not supposed to be at work. I didn't know that. So I went on and worked Wednesday and Thursday. And Thursday I got off work, and I just so happened was going home through that neighboring city, and I get a phone call from the clinic. And they tell me, you know, Chris, you've tested positive for COVID-19 and pneumonia. That's, you know, that part scared me because I didn't even realize I was being tested for that. So she said, wherever you're at, you need to go home right now, and you need to stay quarantined for 14 days. Now, last Tuesday, if today's the 28th, then that would have been the 21st. Hey, get out of here. Get out of here. Go. So that would have been the 21st. So I first showed symptoms on the 5th to 21. That's 16 days that I know I had it, and it still showed up in my system. So I asked her, I said, now look, I think that I'm on the tail end of this. Can I not just be tested next week and get on with my life? She said, no, that's not how it works. Once you're tested positive, you got to be quarantined for 14 days. Well, I mentioned the 16 days to say this. If you're tested right when you show a symptom and you're positive, 14 days later, you're still going to have the virus, because I had it for 16 days. Oh, one thing I failed to mention is even after my body aches went away, I still checked my temperature once a day and never had an elevated temperature. As far as YouTube goes, since you're watching my YouTube video, you can go back in my last 5 videos, I had COVID-19 in. Starting to build the table, I had COVID-19. All the way back to the video where I put the bed on the golf cart. I mean, that's a long time. I did 2 videos of this little guy, had COVID-19 the whole time. The snake video in the barn, COVID-19 the whole time. And like I said, other than the 3 days of body aches and the no sense of taste and smell, I was completely clueless. Now, on to who I may have spread it to. First of all, I use I was hand sanitizer before hand sanitizer was cool. I've always kept it in my truck, and I try to hand sanitize after I go into every store that I go into at work. So at this moment, Tuesday, about 7:30, my family, now we got 1 bathroom in my house, and it's not a very big house. It's pretty close quarters. There's 3 of us that live there. They both got their tests that they took last Friday back, and their tests are both negative. Now, we've been being careful around the house. We try not to be up in one another's face, but my son has been loading the nightly dishes into the dishwasher. He's been off school this whole time. That's why that's one of his jobs. He's been off school this whole time, so every minute I'm at home, he's at home too. As far as my work goes, there again, we be kind of diligent, try not to be around one another any more than we have to. But as of right now, with a handful of people being tested there, there's 1 more positive with no more symptoms. So I don't know if we've just been doing a good job keeping it contained through hand sanitizer and distancing, or if it's perhaps not as contagious as maybe we've been led to believe. I don't know. I'm a simple farmer. Not even a farmer. I'm a wannabe farmer. But I do know that the two people that live in the same home with me don't have it. And that's very, very promising news. Now, they could come down with it. And if they do, we'll do an updated video. But I just, instead of telling the story so many different times over, and my case is a little bit unique because I mean, I had a little bit of a sore throat in there, and I had just a little bit of a cough, but if there wasn't a pandemic going around, my little bit of sore throat, this is Alabama in the springtime. Do you see all these yellow flowers? I mean, there's a billion of them just on my place. And, you know, there's so much pollen dust, if I walk through these, my shoes are yellow. So a little bit of a sore throat and a cough, that's normal life in Alabama this time of year. You know, and somehow we got to find the line to not being over dramatic when we're feeling bad and to not go too far the other way. You know, some people are looking for any excuse, any way to be a victim of a pandemic or anything else. And I really try to live to the point that I'm not one of those people. And perhaps I went too far the other way. Maybe when I had those 3 days of body aches, I should have, I mean, I don't think I could have been tested, but maybe I should have went to the clinic and said, hey, y'all need to test me. There's something wrong with me. I don't have any sense of taste and smell. I don't know what I could have did different or what I could have, should have done different. Could have, should have. Anyway, going forward, we've done some things right. You know, my family's been kept from it, and that's a miracle to me that they haven't had it. But, you know, the symptoms, you know, I've heard about, you know, people just a couple years older than me having horrible symptoms. And I'm just letting you know that that wasn't me. You know, I had body aches, and they were bad body aches. They only lasted 3.5 days. And not losing your sense of smell, it was just more unique. It never hurt me. So, anyway, I'm Chris from Keyfarm. Saying not all cases are going to be the same. I end every video with love God and love people. And, you know, if you're staying social distance, just keep doing what you're doing, because it and hand sanitizer really seem to work. Alright. Thanks. Bye.